It's another match day in America. Well, it's not quite yet over there, but it is here. And it means yet another very long evening ahead of ourselves. Arsenal against Manchester United at 1 a.m. in the morning tomorrow. But when you're up that long, it becomes part of the same day, doesn't it? We've got transfer news to discuss, both ins and outs. So let's get on with today's Arsenal transfer show. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of what is the Arsenal Transfer Show, joining you every morning. A little bit reluctantly today, I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm not going to hide anything. I am so zonked already, and it's not obviously just because the games and the time zone stuff is messing with my head, but obviously yesterday I was at a gig down in Brighton, and obviously there's a long drive there and a long drive back, and I think I got in at about 12:30. We left. The gig finished at about 10:30, which is a reasonable hour for a gig to finish, to be fair. But then driving back and then waking up and then realizing, as I've highlighted this comment from Zoom, that I didn't have the charger, so I then had to drive back home and then drive back here and then set up the show. It's been, it's been a bit mad. So I do apologize if I'm not exactly the most enthusiastic this morning, but thank you as always for tuning in. Really appreciate your time, and if you could be ever so kind to drop a like on the video. I did say yesterday obviously that I completely forgot to remind people to drop a like on the video, and yet we still managed to get 1,500 likes, which is crazy. So thank you so much for the kind support. There was also 18,000 of you that tuned into yesterday's show, which is one of our best watched shows of the summer. So clearly my tired state is something what appealing it seems to these shows. But thank you for tuning in. Very much appreciate your time as always. And I'm going to say good morning to those in the chat box, as many of you as I can. Maximius, Colin, Brian, Wilson, Olawale, Temi, Sir Nicholas, Martin. We've got Paul, another Paul Jr. We've got Mark and Angela, Stevie, Ansa, Aaron, Carlton, Clincy, and Paul Jr. has joined up as a brand new member as well, or a continuation of the membership. It never tells me if there's like a difference, so I can never keep track of what's going on. But Matt G, Mr. E P, we've got Arasilki, Edison, Heavyweight, Brad, Jakob, we've got Rancid, and Jakob's also becoming a member. Oh, this is great. We're seeing lots of new members in the chat box this morning. Well, how wonderful. If you'd like to support the channel, you can. You can go down to the link in the description. You can go into the little link tree, and it should take you there. So you can become a member, and it helps you stand out in the chat. You get access to the Discord server if you're an expert member or a TGT ambassador. You find out about live events a little bit quicker. Of course, you will be finding out about the next live event very soon in the next couple of months or so. So I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, let's jump into today's stories, shall we? We start with, and there's not loads, I'll be very honest with you. There's only a few stories to go through today. But we start with the pre-season new arrivals. We've got Kai Havertz, Gabriel Magalhaes, and Gabriel Martinelli all have now joined up with the squad ahead of the game against Manchester United. I would be surprised if they're involved in tomorrow or tonight's game, but you never know. We might see some involvement. It wouldn't be the first time, but I feel like they might get caught up to speed a little bit, or they might at least be allowed to be caught up to speed. I'm aware that there was a press conference yesterday, and that is the one thing I've not necessarily been able to go through. So I'm going to be reading these very much on the fly. And so to talk to the Arsenal, well, not the Arsenal press, but just the press in general. It was kind of an event yesterday with the LA Rams and coach Sean McVay. And he was asked about his relationship actually with Sean McVay. He says, I know Sean well. We've met a few times, and obviously we have the same ownership, so that connects everybody, not only coaches, but players and the organisation. There's a lot of know-how and skills that we can take and build from each other, and it was great to see everybody together. It's not common, and we had the opportunity to do it, and I think it's something that we can really use to benefit everyone within the organisation, which is obviously good. And he was asked more specific questions about like the title race, and he was asked about what it will take to get ahead of Manchester City. And he says 114 points. If we can do that, we will win the league for sure. This is the objective. And from there, let's see what we can get. But today, that has to be the target. Win every single game and earn the right to win it. and have the biggest probability on the opponent to win the game. When we have difficulties, we still need to be better than the opponent. So that's the objective for the team. And that is great to hear. You want to hear that the target is 114 points. That is what they are aiming for. That is what their desire is, that they want to try and win every single game that they can potentially win and collect. And that's the target for this team. And it should be, that's what we should be aiming to try and achieve. It's not realistic, but it should be the aim. You should aim for these things, even though they're not necessarily within your grasp. So yeah, very, very much good to hear. That situation is, and that is very much the target. Moving forwards and into transfers, more specifically, Marseille are reportedly closing in on an agreement with Eddie Nketiah over a move to the French side during the course of this summer window. The suggestions have been it is a season where we might see more movement, of course, of players from England out into Europe once again. But there's suggestions that this deal will be a loan with an obligatory purchase clause, which is basically what I would describe as a delayed sale. So it's still money coming into the club, either now or, of course, in 12 months' time. And £25 million seems to be the magic number. It may be that Marseille get him for slightly less. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I think that we should be trying to get at least £25 million for Eddie Nketiah. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see if that turns out to be the magic number or not. Riccardo Calafiori, there have been suggestions yesterday that he was meant to travel to London and then to the United States. Apparently that was slightly delayed, and now he'll be traveling to London today before then making his way to the United States. So we should see him hopefully involved in the game against Liverpool, which will be on the 1st of August. But there is no information at the moment about a confirmation date on when he might be available for the team. But Arsenal do play Liverpool on the 1st of August UK. It is the last day, the 31st of July in America. And that's at 12:30 a.m. another late night. And then we can kind of get back to the usual and the normal times over here in the UK, of course, which I know our international fans will be saying, Tom, this is the respect you got to show. And I'm like, I do respect it. Trust me. I just have absolutely no interest in carrying it on. For me, my body clock is, because it's different, because obviously like covering them means I'm working at this ridiculous hour in these random points of the year, which makes my body clock just absolutely go haywire. Now, we reported yesterday the report from Duncan Castles, who claimed that Arsenal had made an approach to sign Fabian Ruiz from PSG. Now, French media have responded to this claim, and a number of outlets, not just one, but a number of outlets have claimed that this is not true, and that Arsenal haven't made an approach to sign Fabian Ruiz. And so, therefore, it's always important to kind of look at, I think, the wider context. We have heard one claim in England talking about this, which has been Duncan Castles, and then we've heard, obviously, not multiple French outlets now claiming that this is not the case. So I would be leaning more towards that. I did ask a couple of questions about Fabian yesterday to some people and haven't had any kind of response or indication to suggest that it is something that will be happening this summer. So it seems that we may have got our answer on that one. But things can change in the window. So watch this space, I guess. And our highlights, headline story, if you will, is that Atletico Madrid want to sign Mikel Merino, as we know. But suggestions are that they are very keen, and that there are indications that they will be looking to really push to sign the Real Sociedad midfielder, giving Arsenal a battle for the Spanish international. And there is a hope Arsenal will get this deal. There's a hope that his preference would be Arsenal, but there is nothing done yet, because Arsenal are still yet to make an official offer towards the international. I keep saying Spanish international. I try to mix up my descriptive verbs. The 28-year-old, Arsenal are yet to make an offer for him officially. So there's all this still happening with the Calafiori deal. We're still wrapping things up. Obviously, intermediaries, discussions have gone on behind the scenes unofficially, but we're still waiting for this official move for Mikel Merino. And we hope that it's a deal that can get done, because it would be from my perspective, as I've mentioned before, I think a really astute, savvy piece of business for Arsenal to get done and add an injection of quality into this Arsenal team. So keep those fingers crossed that we get a breakthrough on this story very, very soon indeed. Right, let's go to part 2 and your questions and more right after this. Oh, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. But I'm going to stick through this. We're going to make it, guys. We're going to do it. Let's jump into the chat. Actually, first of all, I have to say that we've got a third member joining us and joining the TGC family, Philip Pears or Philip Pears. Pears or Pears? Do let us know, Philip. My instinct would be Pears for some reason, even though when I see that word, anywhere else I'd say Pears, but for some reason I'm saying Pears. But do let me know, Philip, and welcome to the family. Owen's question this morning is 2. I don't think Owen's awake yet either from the looks of things. He's clicked the enter button before finishing his question. Rancis says, why should Merino join Atletico? They finished 3rd and defending for 80 minutes. Isn't that appealing if you ask me? I would tend to agree. I think Arsenal is a more exciting move for the next stage of his career, but who knows at this stage what he's going to do and where that deal is going to shape up. But, you know, there's lots of noises to suggest that his preference is Arsenal and that there wouldn't be any issues in terms of officially kind of agreeing personal terms. So let's see. Johan says we're still waiting on that mystery German player every morning. We're still waiting. Who is this guy? Who is this mystery German? Adam says, would you prefer Ruiz or Merino? Ruiz 2 years younger and has the national team spot at the left centre midfielder position. He's not 2 years younger, is he? I think they're the same age. I think they're both 28, are they not? I'm pretty sure they're both 28, mate. So I prefer, I think, Mikel Merino. The reason why I would prefer Merino is because I think that he, yes, I think you're right, maybe less money, but that's not the key reason. He's obviously a more consistent performer at club level over the last couple of seasons. He fits more seamlessly into that left centre mid role than Fabian Ruiz does, who is more attack minded. Merino is a lot more box to box, which is, I think, what profile we do need to invest in this summer. Leadership abilities, his previous connections with Martin Odegaard, having played together already as well, is another benefit. They're both very good players, but I think Merino is the one that takes the edge for me of the 2. Peter says, Tom, do you think that we will score more or concede less goals this season? Yes, I'll ask it again when the window closes. We've obviously scored more in the last 3 seasons in a row. We have continued to score more goals. So trends would tell you that we're scoring more. We also conceded fewer goals last season. We did the season before that. So hopefully we'll score more and we'll concede less. I'm going to go with both, Peter. I think it's more likely that we can score more, though. I just think we can continue to score more and more and more goals at the moment. Daniel says, what's your preferred 11 for tonight? Obviously, with some of those players returning, we're hoping that they may get some involvement in the game, but we don't know how ready they are. They have obviously been playing in the course of the summer. They've had some time off, but they need to get back up to speed. They've only had 1 session. They'll have another session, of course, in the day, I think, before the game. But I don't know if they're going to be involved. If not, I'd like to see a really good full-strength team start from the players that are available rather than the kids coming in. So like we had Jesus and Trossard and Odegaard come off the bench, I'd like to see, obviously, I think Carl Hein probably starts continually in goal, although I would like to see Tommy Setford given an opportunity. Ben White, Timber. If Gabriel can play, then, of course, Gabriel. Zinchenko is back, so maybe Zinchenko gets an opportunity to play. Because did Zinchenko play against... No, I'm trying to think now. Was Zinchenko in the squad for the game against Bournemouth? I'm trying to think now, and I have a weird feeling he didn't play, even though he was there. And Jorginho obviously played, and they both returned at the same time. I'm scrolling frivolously through the chat box just to wait and see if I can see it. I'm sure someone in the chat box will probably tell me beforehand. He came off the bench. He came off the bench. People are reminding me in the chat box. So, yeah, I think Zinchenko, left back for this game. Midfield, Partey and Jorginho, and then I'd go Odegaard in attacking midfield. And the front three would be Jesus starting up top, Trossard on the left-hand side, and either Nelson or Nwaneri on the right-hand side is what I would go for. That would be my personal pick. Of course, if Martinelli is available, he may feature, but I think he's more likely to be on the bench, as will Havertz. I think the most likely thing is we see Gabriel, Havertz, and Martinelli maybe all on the bench. So that might be what we see. So yeah, that's probably the team that I would go with. Gustav says, any talks about Partey leaving? What's your opinion about the player's future in the club? There's not anything at the moment yet. We've obviously heard that there was interest from Saudi Arabia, but that's not picked up at all. I think if Arsenal can move him on, they probably should move him on and then look to replace him. And I don't mean by just accepting Mikel Merino as the only player. I think we needed to bring him in regardless. I think we needed another midfielder coming in. So I'd look to bring somebody else in as well. RDM says, we may not win all the games. Let's reduce the pressure on players. Note that other teams, even outside the presumed top 4 or 6, are also improving. We will win when other teams get points from Man City and others. Of course, but there's nothing wrong with targeting a win in every game, is there? Like that's what we should go into every game believing that we can win. So the aim should be 114 points. That's the aim, to win every single game. That's not the expectation. That's completely different. The expectation is to challenge and to, try and pit Manchester City to the title once again. But the aim and your expectation are two different things. Gavin says, am I in the US? Sadly not. No, I wish I was. But no, I'm not at the moment. But in the future, the bucket list hopefully will be ticked off of doing a pre-season tour trip elsewhere. It would be great to do. Alex says, Tom, we went through a phase we were brought down the average age of the squad to build a long-term continuity. Are you concerned with the potential stacking of more mature midfielders? No, I'm not. We've got Lewis Skelly and Nwaneri coming through who are really young. We're investing in Calafiori, who also is still very young. Declan Rice is in his mid-20s, still very young. Odegaard's still very young. Saka's still very young. Martinelli's still really young. Ben White, I think, 26 years of age now. I'm not concerned about this situation at all. Arsenal have managed this situation really well and will continue to invest in younger players as well. We can actually afford to bring in a slightly older profile because we have such a young squad. So, no, Alex, I'm not worried about that at the moment. Zanz says, what do you make of Mikel Arteta's comments regarding our efficiency in the box? Does it mean improving players' ability to score or bringing in a more efficient goal scorer? Let me see if I've missed that comment in the press conference. I'm not seeing anything specifically about goal scoring. But if I can speak in general to a point on that, obviously I think it's a combination of the two. I think if Arteta could go out and sign a top centre forward, Arsenal might look to do that. And they obviously were keen on Benjamin Šeško at the beginning of the window, but that was more of a market opportunity. The window is not forthcoming with these obvious candidates. So it's a combination of the two. We can add goals through the market, but we can also improve. And this team are a year older, a year more experienced, a year more cohesive. All of these things, I think, combine to help that reality. Aaron says, hello from the US. Loved your show for a while and recently became a member. Thank you, Aaron. Who do you think will be the best centre-back backup next season? Calafiori, White, Timber, or Zinni, or Tomiyasu as well? I think Calafiori, of course, is going to have to bed in. He's going to have to take some time to work his way into the team and to see where he ends up starting and playing. Hopefully we get a glimpse of him against Liverpool. But it's going to take some time to come up. But I think what's important, Aaron, next season is obviously the rotation in the squad. I don't like the term backup. I'm not a big fan of it. Listeners of the channel will know this. I much prefer the word competitive rotational options because that's what they should be. They should be players that give you the opportunity to change players out without necessarily seeing the quality drop all that much. And that's what I want to see from this team is I want to see quality throughout, quality in depth. And that's what we're aiming to do, of course, as well. Jean says, do you think that we could see Martin Odegaard, on the left and Nwaneri maybe on the right as a starter during the coming season? It's difficult to see that because Ødegaard is so married to that right 8 attacking role. But I'm never going to say never. Nwaneri seems to fulfill a very similar role. And so it may be that when Ødegaard comes off, Nwaneri comes on, or maybe Nwaneri plays in the wide right position as well, which he also can do. So there is definitely indications we could see any of those. Owen's worked out to use his keyboards and says, Tom, thoughts on the Mayor of London getting involved in Prem fixtures being played in other countries? Let me have a quick Google. As I say, I was out all of yesterday. Sadiq Khan, Premier League. Sadiq Khan calls for Premier League matches to be played in the US. Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, has risked antagonising football fans by backing calls for the Premier League to stage competitive games in the United States. American TV executives are lobbying strongly for the Premier League to switch some matches across the Atlantic in a revolutionary move that is supported by some clubs, with Liverpool chairman Tom Werner saying last month that he was determined to move a home game from Anfield to New York. Let's see some of the specific quotes. Liverpool, the club I support as Mayor of London, are currently on tour in America. Khan told the Sports Agents podcast. They have big fans in America. Why can't those fans see a competitive game? We've seen other leagues across Europe play competitive games elsewhere. All 32 NFL teams have played in London. All of them have had a great experience. We have some of the top baseball teams in London. There are lots of obstacles, but I think that's the way it's going. It's very important to take the fans with you. We don't want fans missing out on more than 1 or 2 games a season in their home stadium. Now, I am entirely against this, and I have said this continuously and persistently, that I am not ever going to be for a home Premier League, or in quotation marks, a home Premier League game being played outside the States. And from my perspective, at least, it undermines the fairness of the competition. It undermines the I don't know the sporting integrity. That's the word I'm looking for. It undermines the sporting integrity of the league, because how can it be fair to move a quote unquote home game somewhere else for one team in one game, and then that team that played that opponent to then play them in the other stadium, you'd lose that advantage. It is absolutely not okay. Not only that, but we have seen time and time again that the pitches abroad are problems. There are problems with the pitches for specifically this sport, and we've seen that at the Copa America. We see it in pre-season. We saw it last pre-season. There is continuously these issues with the environment themselves. The money that fans have to pay anyway for these types of games is ludicrous already. And yeah, I don't agree with him at all. You know, there are things that I do agree with Sadiq Khan on. There are things that I don't agree with him on, and this would be one of the very key things that I vehemently disagree with. I think it's terrible. What I would say is that during the Super League situation, Josh Kroenke was asked during a fan meeting if Arsenal would ever play a would ever play a competitive home game away from London, and he promised fans that wouldn't happen. Let me see if I can find the exact quote. Josh Kroenke, Super League fan forum, every word. I'm pretty sure every word Josh Kroenke said at the fans forum on the Super League away from. Here we go. This was from ZW. I'm not 100% sure who ZW was, so apologies for that. I'm sure it is someone I'm aware of, but here it is. So this is from a interview back when the Super League had just been kind of kaput. Josh sat down with a group of kind of fans from different supporter clubs and was basically grilled over these things. So the question says, "I'm ashamed to be an Arsenal fan. I couldn't sleep because I was so upset that a club I care about so much would do something like this. When will your father speak to us or Arsenal fans? He's the majority shareholder. He runs the club. Why has he never spoken to an Arsenal fan? Secondly, can you guarantee that Arsenal will never play their home matches away from Islington? And thirdly, why should we believe a single word that you've told us today? I can hear from the tone of your voice that you're not really interested in being here, or that's certainly the impression you're giving. When can we expect to speak to you or your father next? Josh Kroenke replied saying, I would say that if you're hearing from me, you're hearing from my father. I've always said that for years now. When I speak or he speaks, you're usually hearing from both of us. And to be fair, that obviously since this conversation, both Josh and Stan Kroenke have been named as co-chairmans of Arsenal. So that does tally. He continues by saying, I might not be my father, but that's why I'm here today. As far as the tone of my voice, I'm doing my best to try and convey the feelings that are in my heart. From a trust perspective, I'm not asking you to trust me. All of our trust was shredded this week. I fully understand that. That's why I'm trying to rebuild some sort of relationship with the supporters, starting with yourselves. Now, obviously, he didn't answer the question specifically, and so that's why ZW comes back and says, can you guarantee we will never play home matches away from London while you and KSE own Arsenal? Josh Kroenke replied, I can guarantee that. And that is the guarantee that Josh Kroenke has given to Arsenal supporters, not just in London, but around the world. And I know that there are fans who listen to the show and have disagreed with my point of view on this, and they're entitled to, you're entitled to your view on this, especially. And I do empathize with fans abroad that would love to be able to see a competitive Arsenal fixture in their home country or somewhere that is a lot easier for them to travel to go and see those home fixtures. I empathize with your point of view. I really do. However, I think that there is an undermining of the sporting integrity by taking and picking and choosing certain games. Do I think that a game like the Community Shield, for instance, could be played abroad? Definitely, I'm more amenable to that reality. Could the FA Cup be played abroad? I'm still a little bit, I'd need to be convinced. Could the Carabao Cup be played abroad as a final? I'm talking about the final specifically in terms of a neutral ground, not a semi-final or a league, a fourth, fifth, sixth, whatever round of the tournament. An FA Cup semi-final, of course, is also played on a neutral ground. The other issues that you have to take into account is obviously the toll on the players, the travel, the game being played at a certain time zone. We're talking about the games being played at the moment at a ridiculous time in the US for those here. You would have to play those games at a time in those countries that is amenable to the fans that are there, but also the fans that are obviously from the nation where the club is from. So that is also something to consider. And as Sadiq says, as I pointed out, says, what about the schedule? Puts more pressure on the players. Absolutely. The pressure, the travel, all of those things. It's that is it. That is it. And RM says the Club World Cup is going to be entirely abroad. And in a way, I kind of hope that this does in some ways suffice this, what's the word? Desire. It suffices this want to have competitive games played abroad. The Club World Cup expansion, even though that is in itself creating more games and more fatigue and more tiredness and less recovery time, it's happening. That being played abroad is obviously providing competitive fixtures in other nations of these clubs, so around the world. So that's something to consider. But no, I know this has gone on a little bit, but it's a big topic, and I think it's a very interesting topic to discuss. But I do seriously disagree with Sadiq Khan on his opinion on that. But as I said, I agree on some things, I disagree on others, and this is one of the things I significantly disagree with. Competitive Premier League matches should be played at their respective home grounds of those clubs, period. I don't ever see anyone coming up with an argument that convinces me. I am always open to hearing those other opinions, but I'd be very surprised if there could be an argument to convince me that it could work. But I am always open to hearing opposite views on this. Right. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I'm going to jump off now and probably head back to bed. But thank you so much for tuning in and listening. You are incredibly appreciated. Please do drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here with those notifications turned on so you never miss a show. Have a fantastic Saturday. If you're staying up for the game later, best of luck. If you aren't able to watch it for whatever reason, I'll be doing the live commentary on the Football.London website, so make sure you're tuning in over there. I'll be back with you maybe tomorrow, maybe not. Take my early apologies now if there is no show tomorrow. I won't be going to bed till about 3, 4 a.m. So to then get up and do another show, it might be tricky. So do bear with me if there is no show tomorrow. I'll definitely leave like a little message to say if there is or not going to be one. There may or may not be one. We'll have to wait and see. But thank you so much as always. There'll definitely be a show, of course, on Monday morning. And there may be, of course, like there was yesterday or the day before yesterday, a later show rounding up the game against Man United. Have a fantastic day. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy and respectful. And as always, up the Arsenal.